Da, da, da. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Walks on Wall Street. Welcome back to New York City. We'll go ahead and get started here in just a moment. But as always, we'll start off the broadcast with a quick audio and visual check. So if you guys can hear us and if we are streaming in 1080p, just go ahead and give a thumbs up in the chat. We'll get started here in just a moment. Now we're standing across the street from 781 Fifth Avenue. This is the beautiful Sherry Netherland Hotel. I'm going to try to zoom in. I know we talk about this place all the time, but if you're in New York City and you're looking to stay at a really interesting hotel, like it's a very, very old, so it's going to be very old inside, but it's absolutely gorgeous in there. If we were allowed to walk in, I'd show you guys the lobby. The lobby's unbelievable. It's just an amazing, amazing piece of work in there. Yeah, we'll get started here in a minute. I'm kind of looking forward to the holidays because the Plaza Hotel, Plaza Hotel, New York Palace. Those are probably the top two for holiday decorations in the city for sure. Let's head over to the Upper East Side of Manhattan just for a little bit, and then we'll kind of loop around and head back down at 34th Street. If you look all the way at the top of that black building that's centered on your screen right now, I think that's Trump's apartment with those two, this will be fun. Let's actually zoom in on it. You see all the way at the top, everyone? In the very corner, I think it's a duplex apartment. I'm so curious, it's interesting to walk around New York City and just look up at all these, massive buildings, particularly the very expensive ones, and particularly, Trump Tower, where the former president lives, and just wonder what's going on up there, Anyway, let's cross the street and we'll get started. Obviously, the big talk of this week is going to be the FOMC meeting, which is tomorrow, and Fed Chair Jerome Powell, we're going to hear from him. If you look at the the CME Fed Watch tool, there's almost an 80% likelihood, 80% probability that we're going to get at least a 25 basis point rate cut. Now, many top experts, Wall Street analysts and the like, I think we may see as high as 50 basis points. I think they're setting up for the main iPhone 16 launch here. You can see this big cube, all scaffoldings all over it. The iPhone 16 branding. At least I think that's what all this scaffolding is for. Maybe they're setting up some sort of event. Hey, Troy Atman says, did you hear that senators wrote a letter asking for 75 basis points? I heard something that Elizabeth Warren is very adamant about pushing for a 75 basis point rate cut. I don't know. I mean, look, you guys know my take on the whole thing. I think you know where I stand as it relates to where I think monetary policy should be. Now, it's true that, and this may come as a surprise to many of you, because the media, I think, really gives Fed Chair Jerome Powell a bad shake. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, you try to be the Fed chair in this environment, right, through the coronavirus, then through the entire Biden administration, when you've dealt with two of the most reckless administrations as it relates to government spending. Yes, it's true that, Trump spent a ton of money during his administration. Yes, the outlier was COVID, we get it. But, the facts of the matter stand still. Both administrations spent a ton of money. So trying to be the Fed chairman during a time when the federal government just wants to spend, and run up a deficit, while you're trying to keep a cap on inflation while manufacturing a soft landing, I'd say he's done a pretty good job so far, right? It's kind of easy to point the finger and say, he was late to the party, he should have raised interest rates a lot sooner. But overall, right, I think if we had to give him, a general score of, how he's done as the Fed chairman. This thing's interesting. This is a turtle. I'd give him an A. That's what I'd say. But I also don't see the urgency here, ladies and gentlemen, as to why we need to take such drastic measures and slash the Fed funds rate by 75 basis points like some of our politicians are calling for. I don't know. Doesn't mean I'm right. Just because I have an opinion doesn't mean I'm right about it. I mean, what do you guys think? I don't know. Deja Vu says, who's broadcasting the meeting tomorrow? If you go to the Federal Reserve's website, you'll be able to watch it. Also, CNBC, Fox Business, it'll be on as well. NBA Live says, hey Tom, hope you had a good day. Today was a very good day, very busy. I feel as if everyone is officially back after the Labor Day weekend, right? Obviously, Labor Day was, 2 weekends ago now? However, there's still some stragglers that were waiting to get back to the office. I feel like this Monday was the full force of everyone, we're back, we're ready to do business, we're open for business, summer's over. I don't know if you guys kind of felt that vibe today as well. Crypto Meme, what's up? This is hopefully we'll get an after pivot dip. Who knows? We'll talk about that too. Speaking about dipping, diving in the equity market, I think we just hit a new all-time record high today with the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So congratulations for that. Mohammed Yusuf says, Tom, did you try Adele's famous food in New York City? They are Egyptian and amazing food. I never knew they were Egyptian, Mohammed. I never knew they were Egyptian, but you are correct. The food is absolutely fantastic. It's my favorite halal cart in the city by far. It's not even close. Now, Mohammed, the issue is, right, and I'll tell you the issue. Here's the problem. As we're looking at Trump Tower. The problem is the food is so good, the line is so long. So I never, ever get a chance to actually go and eat the food because I can't wait 2.5 hours on the line. But very cool. I didn't know they were Egyptian. Lost yacht not yet found is market and political pressure, and the right things are often two different things. That's true. Now, here's kind of my rebuttal to that, and I'm going to be playing, devil's advocate a lot during this broadcast, just so we can kind of, see both sides. Here's my question for the audience. Okay. It seems like you have a lot of politicians on the left that are really pressing and calling for significant rate cuts in this environment. But if you look at, and if we assume, right, let's assume that everything the media is telling us about Americans' biggest concerns as it relates to voting. Let's just assume that's all correct. One of America's biggest issues, or voters' biggest issues, is the inflation, right? How many times do you turn on Fox News, CNN, even local news, and everyone's complaining about, food prices are up, gasoline prices are up, even though, by the way, gasoline prices are down, and crude oil, I think, just hit a new 52-week low. But perception is the reality. My question is, why would the Democrats, particularly Senator Warren, we got a behind-the-scenes newscast. This is kind of cool. The question is, why would they be calling for aggressive rate cuts when that could potentially spur a wave 2 of inflation, which right now is the number one thing people are voting on? That's my question. I wonder what news channel this is. She is speaking Spanish, so potentially Telemundo. Kind of cool. Maybe they're reporting on something about Trump. Alan says, I don't know if the word complaining is a word I'd use. Times are really, really hard for a lot of folks, for sure. I guess just lack of a better terminology. Maybe voicing their concerns about inflation, which is fair. And to Alan's point, one thing that most people don't understand about the inflation, yes, the overall CPI rate has gone down, but most things, right, are just going up in price at a slower velocity. Most things really haven't come down to where they were pre-COVID, right? If you look at a lot of commodities, like lumber and like crude oil, those things have really come down to where they were pre-pandemic, right? I mean, let's check where crude oil is trading at right now. Let's see. In the meantime, I'll give you guys a beautiful shot of the Crown building. So if we look at crude oil futures, ticker symbol CL, right now, it's $70 a barrel. So we're kind of trading at the bottom of that range. Let's go to a weekly time frame. But the point still stands 100%, right? This is where, okay, so if we review and if we revisit March of 2022, crude oil blew off to about $135 a barrel. And this is when you saw all of those nonsense articles about, top Goldman Sachs commodities trader is predicting $250 a barrel crude. And I remember covering this on the live stream. When you see those kind of predictions, right, when you see those kind of articles in Bloomberg, in the Wall Street Journal, in The Economist, right, when things are hitting all-time highs, and then you have analysts coming out with ridiculous, right, price targets, I'll say allegedly, because I don't know. The reason why they put those ridiculous price targets out is to stir up what's called exit liquidity, so they could exit their positions. At $135 a barrel crude oil, it's obvious that the top smart money on Wall Street didn't think it was going to $250 a barrel. Okay, I mean, it's just quite obvious. So, but they have to put these articles out there, I guess you could call it fake news, whatever you want to call it, with these pie-in-the-sky price targets to stir up the exit liquidity from the retail so they can, unwind their monstrous positions. But now we kind of have the opposite thing happening. So CPI has come down quite materially. Inflation has come down, but it's the big items, right? It's the big items in the average American's everyday life, including mine, that really hasn't come down all that much. You talk about shelter costs or rent, you talk about insurance, both for your homeowner's insurance, medical insurance, everything, right? The big things that are the most important, at least in my world, right? I can't speak for anybody else. The most important things, food, especially food dining out, has gone up significantly. Those are kind of the things that really haven't come down. That being said, I mean, what is everybody else in the audience seeing in your neck of the woods? Would you say that's a fair assessment? Would you say that, commodities generally are coming down? I mean, coffee, except for coffee actually hit a new all-time record high just before the weekend. But if you look at things like lumber, if you look at things like crude, they're coming down. Gasoline at the pump is down a significant amount. It's the big stuff, right? It's housing and it's insurance. That's still crazy. Excuse me. John says, no, not at all. Troy Atman says the most important things are still super expensive. Food, car insurance. I didn't mention that. Yeah, that's true. Car insurance is crazy too. Health insurance, property insurance, electricity. Excuse me. Joel PM says groceries. Let me try to get a couple more. Hank P says insurance is nuts. Car Ross says, Tom, you sell a few more parking garages, it'll be... Yeah. Lost Not Yet Found says the golden age of the Apple phone may be over. Treated like any other phone now, question mark. Well, maybe, but you know, if we kind of look on the optimistic side of the thing, of things, all of these new AI tools, right, that was unveiled at the Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, consumers and customers are only going to be able to take advantage of those AI tools if they get new hardware. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that could potentially be a catalyst, right? AI, and I know everyone uses those buzzwords. It's kind of getting bubble-ish when people talk about AI, and I get that. However, what is true is if you want to use a lot of these mobile AI tools, you got to upgrade your hardware. So the second question is, what is going to be the demand for these AI tools? Is everyone going to say, you know, I really want to participate in this, I don't want to get left behind, I want to use all these cool features? If that's the case, well, you're probably going to see record sales for the iPhone. If not, you know, you're going to see the latter. Who knows? Hey, Ryan Beck. What's going on? Good to see you. Hope you're well. But we'll see. Maybe the golden age of Apple is over. You know, Apple is losing a lot of market share on a global scale. Android is eating into it quite significantly. Wow, Alan says I picked up the iPhone 16 Pro Max for the AI side. Love that. I don't know if I will. I gotta see. I'm definitely gonna be watching probably hours upon hours of YouTube reviews on some of the new AI features for sure. But I don't know if I'll pull the trigger and get the new iPhone 16. We'll see. Ryan Beck says, I am likewise. I hope the real estate market is treating you well. Thank you, sir. Generally still pretty dead. But a little niche that has been, you know, being pretty well for us is brokering and investing in a lot of these parking deals, both on the sales side and the acquisition side, which is pretty interesting. I think one night on the live stream, but we got to go to Brooklyn for this. I actually want to take you guys behind the scenes on a deal we bought, which is just on the border of, how am I blanking on the name of this? Brooklyn Heights, by St. Joseph's College. And maybe we could kind of do a little walkthrough. It's very interesting, very interesting. All right, let's get one more look at Steinway Tower before we head down. BMST Group says we are in a recession, so everybody is down. They just didn't release it to the public yet. Interesting take. I'm not too sure if I agree with that, but I don't know. What are a few maybe reasons or data points that, I don't know, you want to share with us that supports the claim of that we may be in a recession right now? I mean, maybe we are, but I don't personally think that. both from an anecdotal standpoint, walking around New York and Miami, and from, the real data standpoint. Hey, Brad's brain, what's going on? Brad, I don't know if I asked you this yesterday, but we briefly touched on Palantir. Let me pull it up here. PLTR, Palantir. I accidentally got logged into my TradingView account. All right, so we're pretty much, I think did we hit? No, we didn't. We're pretty much at new highs. Pretty much at new all-time record highs for Palantir. And I was telling everybody yesterday about a research report I read from one of the top banks that advises high net worth individuals. In this case, they were doing a project for a family office. And I was reading it as it relates to Palantir and other companies that really the military industrial complex would benefit. They would benefit from the military industrial complex charging on in a major way. Essentially, I'll cut right to the chase. The report was that a Harris win, right, a Harris administration win, would be extremely, extremely positive for defense stocks like Raytheon, Grumman, and they also mentioned Palantir in there because they also, I guess you could consider them a defense stock. They do a lot of business with the U.S. government, and I think that's one of the reasons why the CEO, even though he doesn't seem like a big leftist, he is for, the Harris administration. Hey, Leanne, what's up? This is Hey Tom, watching you as you walk through the neighborhood. What is going on? It's good to be back in New York. Good to see you. Tomorrow's the big day. FOMC meeting. We got new record highs for the Dow 30 today, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. Joel PM says Palantir is like 213 times earnings, or it's trading at 213 times earnings, and nobody knows what they do or make. Yeah, there's an interesting book, which is one of my favorite books on the market, How to Make Money in Stocks by William J. O'Neill. Usually before stocks make their big moves, they're always ridiculously expensive. But I agree with you in terms of a valuation standpoint, it's crazy. But would I rather buy something that has the growth? Now, I'm not making an argument for or against Palantir, but if it does breach new all-time record highs, I will probably start a position to get long that on the stage 1 IPO base breakout. And if you go back and kind of do an audit and a summary of all of the biggest leaders, right? If you look at the biggest TMLs over time, right before they made their big ascents, they all trade at crazy, crazy multiples, right? Stocks go through a multiple expansion, particularly these SaaS stocks or these software companies, enterprise software in their initial moves. Because again, Wall Street generally is willing to pay a premium, in this case a gross premium, for the growth prospects and the consistency and the predictability in revenue, right? If you are bringing in, let's say, $200 million a year in annually reoccurring revenue, you're growing at 35% a year and your churn rate's, single digits, well, then that's very easy to model something like that on a growth trajectory. But
of the same flavor.
You're right. It is a little bit frothy. I feel like there was an Arabica coffee place here. Here it is. This is a really good spot. I think the most famous spot in the city is right outside of the Brooklyn Bridge. But they have one here right at Rockefeller Center. John says, is the Empire State Building used for offices? It is used for offices. And I think Palo Alto Networks has an office in the Empire State Building. Hey, hang with Mark Mom. Good to see you. This is a good shot at 1251 Avenue of the Americas. Not too sure what this person's doing. Brad's brain says Palantir is heavy defense, but definitely growing the private market as well. You know, I'm long-term long. I've also played call options this entire climb up. Well, congrats to you. It's done really well. Hey, DC322, happy birthday, my friend. I just saw that. Hopefully you have a wonderful birthday. Kathleen says, Tom, Amazon CEO just announced. Oops, lost your comments. Okay, Kathleen says, Tom, the Amazon CEO just announced 5 days per week in the office requirement as of January 1st. Is this the start of a trend? I think so. I definitely think so. I believe we've talked about this before, and I think I've even wrote about it before, funny enough. But generally speaking, yes. I think the work from home stuff, especially as companies get back to really, you know, increasing their operational efficiencies, cutting costs, going into uncertain times, right? We had a few people in the audience tonight say that the US is already in a recession, right? There's many people that think that. Some people think that the US is going to go into a recession next year. I don't think that, but this is what some people think, right? Doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong. But in that scenario, this is something that corporations do. Number one, because it's probably better for the business. You know, the work from home thing was great during the pandemic, but they probably have so much data on, you know, how to manage people properly. And generally speaking, people work better when they're in person, right? It's just the truth. Number two, this is also a good way of managing people out of the business. I'm not sure if anyone's heard that term. All of you probably have. But instead of just firing someone, right? Because if you fire somebody, the company's got to pay you severance, they got to pay out, and it's very expensive. So sometimes companies will make it very inconvenient and difficult and, you know, for lack of a better term, miserable for you at work to manage you out of the business so they don't have to pay you out. So you quit before they fire you and they owe you some compensation. I think that's part of it. I don't think that's most of it. I think most of it is companies wanting to get back to the basics. You know, innovation happens and grows when people are in an office together collaborating for the most part. Now, maybe people on the engineering side will be able to have some sort of a hybrid work environment. But I do also think it's, you know, managing people out of the business for sure. Hey, Andrew, what's up? Here we are, Rockefeller Center. Barris says, most people I know are being managed out, including myself. Just do the minimal work and look for other opportunities in the meantime. Wow. Where do you work? What industry, if you don't mind me asking? Also, usually now, like going into October, is when corporates do their, you know, budgets for the next following year. So. Optimus 17 says creative jobs are better remote sometimes, so you get in a flow state and don't get interrupted with, yeah, that's true. Like, look, some people work very well by themselves remote, and some jobs actually probably should still be remote. However, I think the lion's share of people is probably better to be inside. Barris says you work in higher education. Got it. I think the whole online, particularly maybe online college works. I really do believe that. But if you're trying to educate a group of 5th graders or a group of 6th graders, I mean, there's just no shot that's going to work. I mean, you know, I'm trying to imagine myself when I was in middle school, even high school. There's no way, okay? There's no way in hell. I probably even would have graduated high school if COVID happened when I was in high school. It's just, I was the type of student that could not, I needed to be locked in the cage, so to speak. There's no way I would have learned anything if it was me and 50 other kids on a Zoom call with the teacher. It's just not happening, so. Again, not speaking for anybody else, just speaking for myself. But imagine a bunch of 10 and 12-year-olds. You know, you try to have them sit on the computer. There's a million distractions at home. They're looking at their siblings. They're looking at the cat. They're looking at the dog. There's just no way. Wow, someone says Diddy was just arrested in New York City. Now, that's so strange because I'll tell you guys a quick story, okay? Quick story, quick segue. First off, I don't know if that's true, if Diddy was arrested in New York City. It probably is. But assuming it is, I think I ran into Diddy's son today right outside of 157, right outside of the Park Hyatt. I literally bumped into him. So I went to eat at the Whole Foods real quick before I did the stream. And I was walking back, I was walking down 57th Street. I had my head down. I was texting a client on my phone, and I literally run right into him. Like literally just bull rush the guy accidentally. And I said, oh my gosh, so sorry about that. And I think it was his son and like 10 other, you know, like groupies around him. And they didn't look too happy. So I said, hey man, really apologize. And I just head out. But I think that was him. If he's in New York City, that was probably him. And I pretty much tackled him right outside of the Park Hyatt accidentally. Anyway. All right, let's go up and then let's go down and around. Patrice 2020, what's up?
I'll take us, Rob.
Here we are at the St. Patrick's Cathedral. Beautiful piece of architecture here. Hey, it's PB, says Tom, I'm hybrid and I like it. I work in operations at a bank in the Midwest, and no way will they make it mandatory to come back full time, but many places are back in the office. That's a really good piece of data. And with that, I agree. Like if you're back office at a bank, you're not working live deals, right? There's front office and then there's the back office. Back office, you know, you could just do your work if you're responsible. You do it. You don't have to interact with anybody, and that's it. However, I think if you work in front office, especially if you're on a live deal, it's fine. I think it's pretty hard. I think they'll probably call those people back to the office all the time. But if you're an investment banker, you know, in New York, and you know you're working at J.P. Morgan or Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, whatever, right? Jeffries. There's probably a high likelihood that you know your MD is not going to allow you to work from home, especially if you're number one competing for a deal, right? If you're hunting for a deal, competing for the deal, and if you're working a deal on a live deal. But I think I agree. Depending on what you do, there should be an appropriate fit based upon where you fit in the company. If you're back office, maybe even if you're an engineer, right? If you're a software engineer, do you really need to be inside the office every day? Maybe 2 or 3 times a week, right, to collaborate with coworkers, but I really don't think maybe every day. I don't know. I guess it just depends. Hey, Michelle Henry, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. BMST Group. This is military jobs are winning. Period. Also, the perks outweigh most. Yeah, and I think the military is a really good route to go
Guess what?
If you don't really know what you want to do yet,
Row.
and you want to learn a marketable skill and get paid to learn the skill, you can almost kind of think about it as a trade school, right? Particularly if you go into, like a Navy nuke program, like a Navy nuclear engineer program. I was reading an interesting article, and I'll give you guys the article. It's the cover story of this week's Investors Business Daily. I think that is a must read, a requirement read. And it talks about, number one, artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency, but particularly Bitcoin mining. And the essence of the article is this. We know that if AI is all that it's cracked up to be, right? If all of the experts are bang on accurate with AI, we're not even going to be able to produce these products and AI services, because we just don't have the energy, right? It's going to take up so much energy that we need to invest in really the only thing that I think is probably going to do it, push us over the edge, is nuclear power. So we need to double down on that. Problem is there's a huge shortage of nuclear engineers in the United States because we've really bastardized the industry. However, the reason why Bitcoin mining comes into play is because the vast majority of the huge and most profitable publicly traded Bitcoin miners, they're set up near very inexpensive energy sources, right? So, and very powerful energy production sources like hydro, electric energy. Some of the big, like Riot blockchain, some of the biggest publicly traded Bitcoin miners, they're set up in very desolate, remote places where energy is very cheap because they build the infrastructure right next to the source. So they're trying to think about some way where these AI companies can tap into some of these lucrative low energy, low cost contracts from some of these Bitcoin miners. But yeah, I don't know how we got on that topic. I think we were talking about the military. But yeah, I think nuclear engineering would be a very, very good thing to study. I think you'll pretty much always have a job, and you'll probably make a lot of money too. This is a beautiful shot looking down Avenue of the Americas. Hey, Brad's brain. This is how odd, Tom. I literally know a college kid who is working towards his nuclear engineering degree. I hadn't thought about it, about that aspect of it. Oh, for sure. I mean, and it's really a national security threat in my view, right? And this kind of gets into a touchy subject, particularly as it relates to clean energy sources. Because at the end of the day, right, everyone kind of wants to knock on the United States for not being, green enough, but we do a really, really good job. It's countries like China and India that aren't doing such a good job, right? Not to, point anybody out, but it's just the truth. And China is building more coal plants than ever before. I think it's something crazy like 1 a day or 2 a day. So the question therein lies, do we allow China to build these very, very dirty, well, there's really nothing we could do about it. They're just doing it. It's not like we could prevent them. So do we continue to just sit back and do nothing while China, while Russia, while India just cranks out coal plants to keep up with the energy demand while we, try to put up windmills, right? Or do we want to come to terms with the reality and say, look, we need to kind of be doubling down here to stay competitive. We do want to abide by, a greener planet, kumbaya, all that. I'm for it. And I think the solution to have a green, clean power infrastructure that's going to meet the demands of AI is nuclear power, right? Small cell reactors on site, and third generation nuclear power is actually very safe. The technology is much, much different than it was, when we had all those meltdowns like Chernobyl and all that. So it's kind of a balancing act, right? Because we live on a planet. Everybody lives on this planet. So if the US is doing the right thing by investing in green energy, but if on the other side of the world they're not really keeping up their side of the bargain there, well, it's kind of like a wash. While they get ahead and have a big advantage. I think this is Mizuho in here, which is a Japanese investment bank. They recently redid this lobby. So you have AIG, you have Mizuho, you have the MLB. This is a really nice kind of block here. And you have a pretty cool view of 30 Rockefeller Center with that huge full moon that almost looks like the sun. Hey, Esmeralda, what's up? NBA Elias is in reality very few nuclear accidents compared to coal mining incidents. No black lung. Yeah, that's true. But I definitely understand the concern, right? Because it's if something does happen. Like, let's say if there's, we build a nuclear power plant right next to New York City, which, by the way, there was one. I think it was called Indian Point. What was the plant that we just closed down in New York State? Is it Indian Creek or is it Indian Point? I always get the two names mixed up. Maybe there's somebody in the chat that knows. Anyway, I think the thing is, look, if there's a problem there and you had millions and millions of people living 30 miles downstream, kind of a problem. But I totally get it. DC322 says Indian Point. Copy that. Thank you so much. Hey, New England Crypto is joining us. Right on time. New England Crypto, we were just talking about Bitcoin mining. So after I'm done with the stream, I'm going to send you this article on X. It was the cover story of Investors Business Daily this week, and it was an awesome article about energy, right? So a lot of the, as you know, right, you know probably more than anybody, the largest publicly traded Bitcoin miners, a lot of their mining facilities are located right near the power generation source, and very, very cheap and very, very efficient power generating sources, like hydroelectric power and the like. So they're trying to spin off a second segment of the business to try to essentially sell power or share power to these AI companies. That's going to require a ton of power generation. So check it out. I'll send it to you on X when I finish the broadcast. Now, this building that we're looking at right now is very significant. This is West 50th Street and 7th Avenue. This is the Barclays Investment Bank, but it didn't always used to be Barclays. It used to be Lehman Brothers. And last week was the anniversary of the Lehman Brothers collapse that really plunged I was about to say that plunged the United States, but really plunged the entire world into a financial ruin, the 2008 financial crisis. I always say this, but if you've ever watched a documentary on the 2008 financial crisis, they have footage of bankers walking out this door right here with their cardboard boxes, because this used to be the headquarters of Lehman. Part of the deal in the bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers is Barclays would take over this building, and now it is the British investment bank that sits on the corner of West 50th and 7th. But this is where Lehman collapsed, right here. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams pretty much every night starting at 8:45. Hey, what's up, James? Doc 7, what's up? Richard, good to see you. Also, speaking of crypto, was anyone on the Twitter Spaces or the X Spaces tonight with President Donald Trump, Don Jr., Eric Trump, and Barron Trump with some crypto people? So I tried to tune in a little bit after work. I believe the Spaces started at 8 o'clock. It went on to like 9 o'clock. I think it's still going on. I tuned in, but like, I don't know what they announced. Were they going to announce something? They were just talking about like real estate and how the real estate market is inefficient, which it is. There's a lot of use cases for blockchain to make purchasing real estate, selling real estate more efficient, which I agree. But the conversation really didn't go anywhere. And I was on it for like 30 minutes. Was anyone able to join that Spaces and stay on for a longer duration? And what were they talking about? Anyone? I'm kind of curious. But I had to jump off to do the live stream. But it seemed like they were going to announce something, but they were just talking kind of real estate the entire time. Isaac says they interviewed Trump, but then also had other speakers talking about crypto. So it wasn't an announcement, right? They didn't announce anything? I thought they were going to announce a product. Anyway, that's the only reason why I joined. I thought they were going to announce like some sort of product or something. Cruz says I was in there for a little bit when Trump was speaking. Anything pressing that he talked about, or anything, or just the same kind of Trump rambling that he always does? Anyway, it is good news. I mean, if you own, any type of crypto asset, I only, have exposure to Bitcoin. I'm what you would call a Bitcoin maximalist. But it is encouraging news that one of the main deciding factors of a presidential election is going to be who's more pro-Bitcoin. I mean, if you would have told me that in 2014 and 2015, I would have thought you were crazy. But that's really how important this is, because there's a lot of people and there's really a lot of money at stake. So I think this is, I really do believe that the Republicans are going to go all in on Bitcoin, probably too much so. They're probably going to overcook it, but it's going to force kind of the Democrats to come up to the table and play ball with it, which is very, very good overall. Very, very good. Let's cross over to Hell's Kitchen. NBA Live says the U.S. better get on board with Bitcoin, or else China and Russia will. I think China's definitely already on board, so is Russia, but I definitely agree with you. Carl Roth says, Tom, also Canada announced that all new mortgage holders now get a 30-year option included. I didn't hear about that. Thank you for letting me know. Isaac said Trump expressed a lot of positivity for crypto and AI. He was also talking about how Barron has wallets. Yogi says China is almost entirely digital now. People buy and sell on WeChat. I forget who, maybe we were having this discussion here, or maybe we had the discussion on X. But I think this will be good to see, what the audience thinks here. So there was a tweet that came out from a very, very big X account. And it was just a sign on the door at a Starbucks, right? Kind of like this. So imagine if this bakery, this Rosetta Bakery, which is actually a very good bakery, by the way. If this was a Starbucks, they put a sign on the door that says, digital payments only, no cash. And this big prominent X account retweeted that sign and said, boycott Starbucks. Now, I'm not defending Starbucks, but what I don't understand is I don't see what the pushback is, right? And the argument from one side of the aisle is, look, if companies continue to do away with cash, we're going to have no freedoms and government's going to be able to shut us down. We're going to have social credit scores and governments are going to be able to tell us what we can and can't buy, and they can shut off our money, this and that. There may be some truth to that, but what we need to understand is that currency is technology. I'll say that again. Currency is technology. Currency is made up just like everything else in this world. And technology continues to advance, and it will always continue to advance in perpetuity forever until the end of the world. Not to sound like a broken record, but there is a very, very good book, essentially is on the history of currency, going all the way back to ancient China when they used to transact and purchase things with seashells, right? Going back to the barter system, right? When, going back to, if I had 3 chickens and I wanted, whatever, if I had 10 chickens, I traded it for a goat or whatever, right? We don't do that anymore. Things evolve, right? We continue to improve our financial system. So the next logical step, right, is not carrying around physical bills and physical coins and trading them back and forth for products and services. We have the internet. Most transactions are digital anyway. I have a prediction that in 50 to 60 years time, when I tell my grandkids about physical coins and dollar bills, they're going to look at me like I have 3 heads. They're going to be like, what? You actually had to go into a store and hand people a bunch of change? That's ridiculous. And it kind of is. I don't remember the last time I purchased something in physical cash. Everything is Apple Pay, everything is Venmo, everything is Zelle. It's a digital world already. So people are always very, very resistant to change. All the time, right? What we should train ourselves to do, particularly from a business standpoint and an investment standpoint, is to always kind of lean into things that we're uncomfortable with, because the people that really, I should say, benefit from a monetary standpoint are people who are first to catch a trend and who are in the trend when it really, really takes off, right? The alpha, right, to use an investment term, the alpha is always sucked out of the deal when it's mainstream, when it's common practice, when it's commonplace, when everyone knows it's a surefire thing. That's when the majority of the alpha is sucked out. It's kind of like, buying Apple stock in the early 2000s. Did everyone know that the iPhone was going to be the next big thing? Did everyone even know that iPhone was going to be a thing? No, but you kind of bet on it. You bet on the company. Is it going to fail? Is it not going to fail? That's kind of when you have to make your bets. So with anything in life, not just digital currency, try to always have an optimistic outlook on it so you can force yourself to lean into the trend. Because let's say you lean into the trend really, really hard on 3 big plays. Statistically, 2 of them aren't going to pan out at all and you're going to lose everything. But one of them is going to hit really big and you're going to make a fortune, right? That's the great thing about business, and that's the great thing about the investment business in general. If you bet big on 10 things and 8 of them fail, the next 2 could win and make up for all your losses and then some. So I don't know. I'm not really on the side of against digital forms of payment. I think that's just the next progression in society. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you for digital currency, or do you think we should always mandate that we have some sort of cash transaction all the time? What do you think? Hey, Spencer, what's up from San Francisco Bay Area? Good to see you. Lost, not yet found. Says got my card hacked once. Only use cash now. Well, it's much easier to defraud somebody with cash. I mean, if somebody hacked your card, you just call the bank and they refund all the money. That's the great thing. This is a new hotel. I think it's called the Hotel Theta, the Kipton Theta Hotel. This is actually brand new and it's pretty good. It is on 8th Avenue, so that is a negative, but it's actually quite nice in there and it's pretty affordable. Now, additionally, here's another point. Unfortunately, in America, there's a lot of crime here, particularly now. Not taking a knock at it, but it's just true. You can't really rob a place that doesn't accept cash. Right? If I own a bodega, if I own a coffee shop, and I don't accept cash, what are you going to come in and take? You know, open the register. There's nothing in the register because it doesn't exist. The cash doesn't exist. So I think that would cut down on a lot of the theft and the holdups and the stick-ups and the burglaries and the robberies, and actually make things more safe. Use it kind of as a deterrence. Look at the FDNY here, engine 54, ladder 4, battalion 9. Joe C says, Tom, how was my trip to South Korea? It was awesome. South Korea is fantastic. Greg says, instead of using cash, let's go back to the gold standard as a backup. Well, you could have, gold-backed digital currency. You could have a gold-backed physical currency, but we're on a fiat monetary system, unfortunately. All right, let me catch up on some of these chats. 456 says, I believe it's illegal in New York City to not accept cash. I think that's actually true. Or maybe it's legal in a specific borough or illegal in a specific borough. I'm not too sure. But there are cash-only places here. I know that for a fact. Like some boba places are cash-only. Black Wolf 590 says, the Canada government asked banks to freeze people's accounts during the trucker protest. That's true. That's why you should have an allocation to Bitcoin, which is the only unconfiscatable asset in the world. But that's a very good point, right? So that's kind of the argument one way. If we only have a digital monetary system and no physical cash, the government could come in and shut us down automatically. Well, the government can already do that, right? I mean, if we really, really think right now, the federal government can't just turn us off, literally, like make us not exist from the face of the universe, like literally wipe us clean. They could do that to every single American. Okay, if you get on their bad side, they'll turn off all your money. They'll pretty much blackball you from everything. Let's just be honest, they could already do that. I mean, the US government somehow found Saddam Hussein in a sewer hole, probably about the size smaller than this. He was like in a little box, right, on the other side of the world. So yeah, they can turn off your bank account, right? With the technology and the intelligence that the government has now, I just by default assume the government knows everything about me. They know all my spending habits. They know what time I wake up. They know all my conversations. They know who I'm texting, when I text them, how often. They have a recording of all my call logs, everything. And that's the truth, the government does, right? Credit card companies do in general. I mean, think about how important that data is, right? If you have a credit card, about a year of spending habits, what's that worth to an advertiser? They know exactly what you spend money on, what you splurge on, so they could serve up, more targeted advertising. It's just a digital world. It's a more convenient world, but that means we have a little bit less freedom. Now, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. I think it's interesting to debate it. But the more convenient, generally speaking, I think the world gets, the less freedom we have in terms of privacy. Maybe I should substitute the word privacy for freedom. Professor Darío is asking, what about the torch? So this is the torch right here. This is going to be the construction site for Extel's new development, right on the corner of West 46th Street and 8th Avenue. This is going to be a hotel, and it's also going to have like a drop head attraction ride on it, which is going to be quite interesting. Esmeralda's is trade-offs for convenience, I guess, for sure. Bryant's is your whole life on video. Well, there's another one. Lemonades is absolutely they do. The government knows everything. It's like Big Brother. Oh, for sure. I mean, and especially if you live in a big city, right? I mean, guys, the NYPD has security cameras on every single block in this city. You're on CCTV everywhere you go in this city, okay? It's impossible to get away with the crime in this city unless you're the person who killed Jeffrey Epstein. All right, moving on. Probably shouldn't have said that. This is the Row Hotel here on the corner of West 45th Street and 8th Avenue. This is the largest migrant hotel in the city. And it actually doesn't really look too bad. I mean, this place used to look really rough, but the city's done a good job cleaning up kind of the space outside of the hotel. For a Monday night, there's actually a pretty decent amount of nightlife. A lot of people dining at the restaurants. I think this is like a pizza shop, an Italian kitchen. Hey, Eaton's. I'm moving to New York City next year. Awesome. I think you're really going to like it. It's a fun city. Lots of opportunity. All right, let's continue on down. Hey, Kamani. I stayed there when it was called the Milford Plaza on my first trip to New York City back in the late 80s. Wow. It wasn't the best hotel back then, but very affordable tourist hotel. I never knew that's what this was called. It does look like an old hotel, doesn't it? Now, Kamani, there's another hotel that I think it used to be a parking garage and office space that they converted. It's very, very nice. It's called the Kipton Theta Hotel. We just passed it. It's actually, the rooms are very big. It's brand new and it's pretty clean. And the room rates are very affordable too. The downside is it's on 8th Avenue, but the inside is immaculate. It's a very good hotel. So if there's anyone visiting New York City during the holidays and you kind of want to be close-ish to Times Square because you want to do all the tourist stuff, I'd recommend that hotel. It's brand new, it just opened about a year ago, and the rooms are huge, and it's very, very affordable. Once again, the Kipton Theta Hotel. This is the Intercontinental here. Now, we spoke a lot about cryptocurrencies. We spoke a lot about AI. We spoke a lot about power, right? Where are we going to get all this power to actually be able to use these AI tools? I think an interesting thing to also talk about, which, by the way, that Investors Business Daily article kind of covers, is all these data center plays. I had a conversation with a few well-known private equity shops, and they're still actively looking for deals, shopping deals in the data center space. That, I think, is going to be your next mini bubble. I think there's going to be a lot of irrational exuberance building these data centers. So I think short term they're going to overbuild and they're really going to overblow it out. But if you think about the growth of AI, the growth of cloud computing, right? Amazon, AWS, Microsoft, Azure, and the like, I think data centers, if you're looking for a real estate play, in terms of like a REIT, a real estate investment trust, well, maybe you should look for some REITs that are very heavy on the data centers. Hey, marketing videographies. Is Diddy arrested in New York City? I think Alan said that in the chat before, which is kind of crazy because, like I said, I believe I ran right into his son, quite literally almost tackled him by accident, right outside the Park Hyatt Hotel tonight. I think it was him. So maybe they are in New York City. That could be a whole other can of worms, you know, with the allegations against P. Diddy. This doesn't look good. You know, hearing stories about that just makes me really just resent Hollywood and big music. It's just so gross. It seems like if you want to get to the top in those industries, you have to do something nefarious, or you have to, increase your degeneracy. It's just not something I want to be a part of. And it kind of makes me not even want to watch movies or listen to music, because it's just all so disgusting. Maybe that's a little bit of an overreaction, but that's how I feel. I think there's a bull market in degeneracy in the United States, particularly in Hollywood. It's gotten to the point where I just don't even want to see any movies, because behind every single movie that comes out now is some crazy agenda or some nonsense. Somebody was being exploited or something. So. All right, everyone, this is the main drag here. I remember walking down here as a kid, and there used to be that main McDonald's here that's now closed down. Someone's asking if I think Taylor Swift has done something nefarious. I have no idea. I have no idea, dude. I'm just saying more in general, you know, with the allegations that are coming out in the news about, you know, all these big Hollywood people and that are at the top of Hollywood, right? Not just Diddy. I'm not singling him out, right? But, you know, what is it, Harvey Weinstein, all that. It just seems like, I don't know. I'm not an expert in Hollywood. I just see what you guys see that comes out in the media. But it just seems like a disgusting business. Like, I want to be a part of a business where I have full autonomous freedom over myself and over my choices. not where I have to do something for someone else or someone has, blackmail on me because I did this movie. Like, I just want to have full autonomy so I could just say, F you, and not never have to deal with anyone's nonsense. Because at the end of the day, what's the point of having all that money if you have like a black shadow hanging over you? And if you don't say this particular thing, if you don't support this particular political candidate, you're going to get blackballed here, blackmailed there. That's just too much stress, man. All right, let's bang this right. Now, assuming all that stuff is true, right? As it relates to Diddy, we have to say allegedly, 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 so we don't get sued. But look, there's been, real convictions in Hollywood around all that stuff. I mean, just look what happened, not necessarily related to Hollywood, but in a whole other side of the aisle in terms of politics and compromising, very, very high profile people. That's essentially what Jeffrey Epstein did, right? His job was to weasel his way, right, to get near very, very high profile people and then compromise them to essentially blackmail them into doing business with them, right? Which is really, talk about a sadistic business model that is. That is wild. All right, so we're officially leaving the gun-free zone of Times Square.
Set up your store on a single integrated platform.
Wow, check out the line outside of Joe's Pizza. Greg's is gun-free zone. Yeah, Times Square is a gun-free zone. Don't you see all the signs? No guns allowed. The only time you're allowed to have a weapon in Times Square is if you're some sort of gangbanger or a criminal. But, if you're a law-abiding, tax-paying guy like myself, and I want to carry, it's going to be a big problem. Now, for a Monday night, having the Joe's Pizza line wrap all the way down the block, it's pretty impressive. They must be doing really well. I'm curious to see. Now, I don't think Joe's owns that location, right? They don't own the real estate. They obviously rent. I wonder what the rent is there. They probably pay based on the percentage of revenue they bring in. The rent there must be crazy. Because there's always a line out of there, always. And again, for Monday night, it seems like a lot of people are out. Very busy Monday in New York. Maybe we'll have enough time to go through, what's it called? Koreatown. I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to talk about tonight. We pretty much ran through all the topics I wanted to cover. Oops, hold on 1 second. Oops. All right, cool.
I also feel bad cutting it out like just.
Hey, Felix, Tom, you hitting the San Gennaro's feast this week? I don't know if I'll have time. When does that go to, the Feast of San Gennaro? I think I may have missed it. Maybe it's going on all week, I have no idea. But if it is, I'm down. I'm down to go. We always check the historical inflation on the sausage, peppers, and onions. As of now, according to my calculations, the price of a sausage, pepper, and onion sandwich is growing at like a 15% CAGR in New York City. Peter says the feast ends next weekend. So we'll be there. That's a guarantee. Maybe we'll do that Friday night. Because Friday night, assuming the weather's nice, there's probably gonna be a lot of people there. Yeah, Scott. This sounds like the Big Mac index on The Economist. I think I'll buy like a fun domain name and we'll do a calculation, we'll update it every year on how much a sausage peppers cost. T-Pax is buy gold. Well, I think gold hit a new all-time record high 2 days ago, trading into record highs, $2,500 an ounce. I am very bullish gold. In the last investor letter I sent out, I think this cycle gold goes to 5,000. I think it's very possible. Now, gold's an interesting thing to talk about, as TPAC 5000 said. And the reason for that is the following. If gold is ramping regardless, right, and we'll get into the politics of it, we have to because we're talking about gold, but gold, you know, many people use it as a hedge against inflation. And if you look at the polls one day, it says that President Trump is going to win. If you look at the polls the next day, it says Kamala Harris is going to win, and it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But what has stayed consistent, and I'll pull up a chart here. Please stand by. Apologies for the delay. What stayed consistent pretty much since the beginning of the year is this massive cup and handle on gold. Breaking out into new all-time record highs, almost trading at $2,600 an ounce. Now, what does that mean? That means the market is showing a no confidence vote that either political party will do something to reduce the deficit. Essentially, what the market is telling us, what the gold market, precious metals market is telling us, is that if Kamala Harris gets elected, they're going to run up and print more money, and the government is going to spend more money. And if President Trump wins, it's going to be the exact same thing. Print more money, spend more money, deficits, deficits, deficits. This is an amazing, amazing shot of the Empire State Building. Look at that. You have the Empire and then the moon to the right. So that's kind of what the market at least is telling me. So I'm long gold, right, full transparency. And it's coming off of a 20-year base. I mean, we've written about this in the newsletter. If we go to a monthly time frame on gold, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. But gold, topped in 2011, I believe. October of 2011 at right around $2,000 an ounce. So I mean, look at this. This is like a decade-long cup with handle. And gold tends to do this, right? It goes on these huge, wild, parabolic runs, and then it consolidates for a decade, and then it'll go on another run, and then it'll consolidate for a decade, and then it'll go on another run. And if you think about the geopolitical environment and the local political environment here domestically in the United States, I mean, you couldn't have a more bullish scenario for gold. I mean, it's just like ridiculous. You have one party, right, which seems like they are the most bloodthirsty warmongers. They want World War III. You know, they want the annihilation. It seems like pretty much all of the Russian and the Ukrainian people, which is like it's just a meat grinder, that war. I mean, the globalists will not be happy until all of the young men and women in Russia and Ukraine are pulverized on the border of Russia and Ukraine in that war. At least that's what it seems like. So the military-industrial complex wants war to go on. They also want war with Iran. So you have all of that geopolitical World War III bull catalyst for gold, and you have deficit spending for gold as well. So it's not like I'm happy that gold is doing really well, because when gold tends to do really well, you know, not so nice things are kind of happening in the world. So it's, you know, more deficits, more spending by both sides. I'm not blaming one political party or the other, it's both. And it doesn't seem like people want to do anything about it. So us as individual investors, right, we can do something about it by positioning ourselves appropriately in our portfolios and buying things that generally do pretty well when the government is inept. So, I don't know, any thoughts? Anybody who disagrees? Because just, again, and I like to repeat this and remind everybody, just because I say something doesn't mean I'm right. These are just my personal views. I have an open mind. I listen to all sides, and oftentimes I change my mind. But currently, right now, things are very, very bullish for gold. All right, let's cross back over to Fifth Avenue. This is such a cool shot of the Empire. Hey, what's up, Mohammed? Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. You know, I see these guys recycling here on this corner probably once a week. They have a huge operation going on. ABBA, this is Hey Tom, how are you? I'm doing pretty good. Happy to be back in New York. Just not looking forward to winter. How many dollars do you think in cans are we looking at? I think we tried to speculate this before, but I wouldn't even know what to guess. You think that cracks $1,000? Each can is 5 cents. You think that cracks $5,000? You think that cracks $1,000 in cans? What do you think? I'll zoom in a little bit just so you can see a bit better. I don't know. Maybe each bag is $100? My guess is that each bag is $100. That's my guess. Darren's, did you say it's about $500 in cans? Maybe you're right. All right, so we're making our way over to Fifth Avenue. Whoops. Hey, Soho Joe, what's up? It's good to see you too. Good to be back. Kathleen. Yeah, usually the roller skating group is out on the weekends. And we only have maybe 2 more months of seeing them too before it gets cold out. That guy's wearing a Vineyard Vines shirt. I remember when I was in high school, that brand really, really blew up. It was a huge, I remember it was like if you were wearing Vineyard Vines, it was like, oh my gosh, like that was the coolest thing ever. Now, I think the mega trends in like athleisure fashion, I'd say of the 2010s, it's been Lululemon. And now Lululemon's kind of fallen off, and it's that other brand we talked about, ALO or something? ALO, something like that. But Lululemon stock has been a monster. It's correcting quite materially. I think it's off almost 50% from its all-time record highs. But I think that's that other brand, Alo. Yeah, Professor Dario. That's extremely popular in New York. If you walk around Tribeca on a Sunday morning, everyone is wearing that brand. I don't think they're publicly traded though. Yeah, Chris L, that's true. North Face was in there too in high school. Crazy popular. To the right is that Starbucks Reserve Roastery store. Starbucks has a new CEO. Starbucks recruited the Chipotle CEO, and I think he's going to turn the company around. Now, what was interesting about the new Starbucks CEO, former Chipotle CEO, he made a statement, and in his statement, he actually said a lot of the things we talked about here and what many of you, the viewers, kind of brought up as to why Starbucks has kind of fallen off as of late. And a few of the reasons listed, I'll kind of list a few of them. Number one was the safety of the stores, right? In major cities, if you live in like San Francisco, if you live in New York, the staff and the baristas. say that the stores are not really that safe. The bathrooms are pretty much used as a homeless encampment, a homeless shelter, and that really deters regular customers from going to Starbucks, sitting down, getting some work done, and getting a cup of coffee. If you go back and read Howard Schultz's original first 2 or 3 books that he wrote, he said the idea for Starbucks is not just a coffee shop, it's a third place, right? You have work, people congregate there, you have home, and then you have that third place, which is Starbucks, where you could go there, not just get a cup of coffee, but kind of have a chat and talk with your friends, meet up with family, meet new people. But that third place is really kind of disintegrated over the years because it's too dangerous. And when I mean dangerous, I'm not saying physical violence dangerous. I'm saying it's just not comfortable to hang out in the stores just due to all the extreme homelessness. And that's not me saying that. That's from literally, it's been in earnings reports. The employees at Starbucks have said that. That's part of the reason why many of the Starbucks employees want to unionize, to fight for better working conditions. That was one of their top reasons. Now, number 2 is the cluttered and chaotic menu. The reason why Chipotle worked so well and was able to scale into the monster it is today is because they have a very, very simple and easy to make menu. They don't have 80 million different menu items, right? Very simple, 3 or 4 things on the menu, and that's it. Right, Starbucks was a million different things. So I think what you're going to see over the next year with Starbucks is a significant increase in security and safety at the stores. That's number 1. And number 2, you're going to have a very simplistic menu. So they're probably going to do a lot of data mining at Starbucks. And they're probably going to go back and say, okay, what were our best-selling products? What were the worst-selling bakery products? And they're probably going to can those. They're probably going to double down on what's working. And I think the company's really going to turn around, in my opinion. It's going to be interesting to see. This is now Koreatown. This is a really good spot. I don't really know how to pronounce it, Worryjip, but this one is fantastic. They have prepared meals, prepared food. I don't think any will be on display now, but you walk in here, you go all the way to the back, and on those little racks, they have prepared Korean meals. It's really, really good. It's kind of like a grab and go, and everything is like $10 to $15. Yeah, Darren says something needs to be done about the trash. It's very true. 32nd Street, I think, is probably one of the worst when it comes to garbage in New York City. But this is actually not that bad. I mean, you should see it some nights. Some nights the garbage is pouring over into the street. This is actually a little bit of a tame and a mellow garbage night in Koreatown. It's just we have nowhere to put it. I mean, look at it all. There needs to be some sort of dumpster system or underground storage. There's just so much. And this isn't even that bad, to be honest. I know NBA Live says Howard Schultz is one of the only people that could probably bring Starbucks back. Founder mode for sure. I mean, there's no one that cares about that company like Howard Schultz. The problem is, I really just think he wants to retire now. I mean, now NBA Live, I'm not sure if you've heard me make this joke before, but I said a lot of CEOs now in corporate America are ex like KPMG and consulting people that will come in, they'll raid the company, and they'll just make a ridiculous corporate compensation package, and then they'll run the business into the ground, and then they'll leave. Not to throw shots, but if you look at the current background of the current Starbucks CEO, I think he was a big executive at KPMG. I think. I'm not saying he ran the company into the ground, but it definitely didn't perform well during his years. But a lot of people in corporate America now are like that. They're these older bankers or consultants that aren't really that really don't know everything about the business, right? And Elon Musk kind of said this in his latest interview when he was kind of taking a shot at Boeing's CEO, right? Says he doesn't really have any background in the core business. I think board of directors are going to demand that change, where they want someone with hyper expertise that have either lived and breathed the business before. And that's kind of what you're seeing with the new choice, the former CEO of Chipotle. I mean, I think those businesses run simultaneously. You know, quick service restaurant, fast casual. That's kind of what Starbucks has become. That's kind of why I think he's going to turn it around. JJ says it's their fault for hiring suits. Darren says you should get Dunkin' Donuts coffee just for fun. Honestly, I might do that, but there's no Dunkin' Donuts that's open. For some reason, right now I am craving coffee. I don't know why. Now, I'm one of these crazy people that can drink coffee right before I go to bed, and it has no impact on how I sleep at all. If anything, it probably makes me sleep a little bit better. Julio says, what kind of car was that? I believe it was a Kia Sportage. Professor Dario says, you too. You know, I was reading an article, Professor, about this. I'm not too sure how true this is, but they said people that drink a lot of coffee, like probably too much, become very, I guess, not sensitive to it over time. And I think I am addicted to it. I can admit that, right? Caffeine is a drug. I think the only drug I am addicted to is caffeine, because if I don't have coffee in the morning, by 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I start to get headaches. And that's not good. That really means I'm dependent on it. But I'd rather be dependent on caffeine than something more harsh like fentanyl or something like that. This was the Hotel Pennsylvania that they just took down. It's crazy. It's just like an empty pit. Now, maybe tomorrow, if we have time, I want to show you guys the construction site of Phase 2 of the Hudson Yards, which is going to be pretty crazy. I don't know if they've gotten approval for the casino yet, but Steve Roth and company over at Related is going to be starting on Phase 2 at the Hudson Yards, and a major component of that is going to be a casino. So we'll see. All right, everyone, but it's getting late. I do appreciate everybody coming out. I think it was a really, really good conversation tonight on the live broadcast. We will be live tomorrow at 8:45 from New York City. If you want to join us tomorrow, feel free to subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and we will see you right back here tomorrow At 8:45, we'll be talking about the FOMC meeting and the upcoming change to monetary policy. Nate, thank you so much for your generous $10 donation. This is Have a Coffee. I will, I promise. I appreciate the support. And if you're ever in New York City, I will take that $10 and I will buy you a coffee as well. Certainly no complaints on my behalf. Okay, thank you, Nate. Appreciate you as always. Fun feeds, Optimus17, New England Crypto. I'm going to send you a direct message on X here in a moment. Professor Dario, Kathleen, NBA Elias, Hang with Mark Mom, Lemonade, Felix, Cruz, Soho Joe, Pops, all of our moderators out and about. Always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. Good luck with the FOMC meeting. Take care.